let's talk about footballers. Do you remember when you were growing up, people asked you, what do you want to be when you are older? And 70% of the time, if you are a young male growing up in parts of the world, especially in the UK, you're going to say that you want to be a footballer. I said it, you said it, your dad said it, and guess what? We've all fucking failed. The footballer lifestyle is the dream. You're being paid an extraordinary amount of money, more than you should really probably be paid, to simply kick a ball about on the pitch for 90 minutes while being applauded, loved, and cherished by fans across the world. But just make sure that you're not doing that bad, otherwise you'll be disgusted and disgraced by the fans instead. However, there is a side of footballers that we may need to dive into. The disturbing world of footballer criminals. These are footballers that have been done for crimes that are just obscene, or those that are extremely disturbing and dark. This is similar to my iceberg series that we start off with more kind of happy-go-lucky, more tame types of topics, and the further we go on, the darker it gets. And trust me, yeah, there's some really fucked up ones here. So tell me down below in comments if you guys found this video interesting. Comment down below what video should I do next, and also like and subscribe. Thank you all for 360,000 subscribers. And of course it would be our sponsor, but it's not a sponsor because it's my own company, mazaladesigns.co.uk. Link is down below top of the description, and use code FATHERS for 8% off for our Father's Day sale, only available for the next 2 days. And let's get into it. Let me ask you a question. What is probably the dumbest thing for a Premier League footballer to be caught by the police for? Yes, theft. More specifically, theft for £80. More specifically, they tried stealing a toilet seat. I present to you our first footballer criminal. Criminal is probably too much of a word to use against these two, probably just use the term idiot. As back in 2007, both Glenn Johnson and Ben May, footballers at Portsmouth at the time and Millwall, were each fined £80 after being spotted by security at a local B&Q for trying to transfer a toilet seat into a box with a cheaper price tag. They literally took the toilet seat and just swapped it to a cheaper box. That's kind of genius, and I may try it out later on. I'm kidding, please don't track me down. Mark Chapman, you've probably not heard of him, because you shouldn't have, because he's just a Sunday League footballer, but a footballer nonetheless. I'm clutching straws here already, it's not looking good. Mark Chapman, during a Sunday League game, became the first football player to be ever imprisoned for a tackle. Chapman was sentenced to 6 months in prison for breaking a leg of the opposition player called Terry Johnson in 2 separate places. Now, there is no video proof of this, but let me set the scene. Imagine the ball in the corner of the pitch. It is the last dying seconds of the game. They are losing 3-1, and the player is just going to let the ball go out to play, and then the game will be over. This guy, of course, with anger management issues, is annoyed of how the game went, and maybe he played really badly, so instead of just letting the ball go out to play because the game's over, he instead decided to charge at him and 2-foot him from behind when the guy posed no threat. This was seen as a deliberate and premeditated act, so he served 6 months in prison. What a prick. What about Ronaldinho? No, don't do this to me. Ronaldinho, please don't ruin my childhood, man, please. Do not worry, it is not that bad. It is more stupid than it is bad. During early March 2020, Ronaldinho and his brother was found to be put in court. This took place in Paraguay. And why, you say? Well, this is because Ronaldinho and his brother gave false documents over the border, including a fake passport. And what did that look like? It looked like this. Yeah, Ronaldinho, one of the most famous Brazilians, presented a Paraguayan ID with his name on. Let me get this one thing straight here. Ronaldinho, one of the most famous Brazilians, had a Paraguayan ID and pretended to be Paraguayan. You may say, why didn't he have his Brazilian passport? Well, back in 2018, he had his passport seized as he failed to pay a £1.7 million fine. This one is just more sad than anything else. Joey Barton. Ah, yes. You knew this was coming, didn't you? You just knew it. The amount of times that Joey Barton has been caught doing something that he probably shouldn't have probably is most of his life. We found a list back in 2011 with only missing half the things that he's been caught for, but this is just to name them. In 2007 he received a 10-match ban for assaulting teammate Dabo, as Dabo called him a coward, so he hit him from behind. He was jailed for 6 months for assault outside a McDonald's. 2010, Joey Barton appeared to make a homophobic slur towards Fernando Torres. In 2010, he earned a 3-match ban for punching Morten Gamst Pedersen in the gut. Joey Barton, back in 2004 at a party, found that one of his friends was trying to light his shirt on fire as a joke. So, in retaliation, as you do, he found a cigar, lit, and stabbed it in his eye. In 2016, he was found betting on matches that he was involved in as well, placing 1,260 bets, and with 44 of them involving games that he was actually playing in. And most recently, and by far the worst one, was back in July 2021, with Joey Barton being charged with the assault of beating a woman. The court heard that Barton had kicked wife in head and grabbed her by the throat in a drunken row. However, this court case was dismissed due to Joey Barton being unable to get a fair trial. So, you know, only the few things from Joey Barton. Yeah, Jesus Christ. Vinnie Jones. Vinnie Jones is like Joey Barton, but just much more of a psycho. Jones was charged with assault and actual bodily harm in 1998 after he attacked his neighbour. But the worst one came in 2003, where on a flight from London to Tokyo, he threatened a passenger on his flight and fought back the crew, saying the following: "I can get you murdered, I can get the whole crew murdered for £3,000. So, after threatening death, his most logical punishment is a fine of £1,100 and 80 hours of community service. It seems a bit weak. Diego Maradona. Christ, where can we begin? In 1994, Diego Maradona found an air rifle and decided, hey, you know what's a good idea? Let's fire it at reporters. He was given a 2-year and 10-month sentence. And there's also something to do with taxes, which is just boring, right guys? I mean, who pays tax? This is a message to basically almost every single footballer. Messi, Ronaldo, I'm looking at you. Well, Maradona was no exception, as he allegedly still owed the Italian government 37 million euros. You know, just pocket change. Gus Hiddink, again, something quite tame. No one really cares. Tax fraud, eh? Who pays tax? No one does, apparently, as he were convicted of tax fraud back in 2007, apparently evading more than 1.4 million euro in tax. Tony Adams, the man known as Mr. Arsenal himself. Well, he almost lost his career and potentially even maybe his life back in 1990, when he crashed his car into a garden wall while driving home. The reason why? Well, he was drink driving. Usually when you are caught drink driving, you are breathalyzed and they can tell how far you are over the limit. Usually it's 5, 10, but for Tony Adams, he was caught 27 times over the legal limit and he served 2 months in prison. Peter Story, I got a story for you. Haha. Sorry. The Arsenal and Fulham man was decent on the pitch, but also off it too. What did he get involved with? You know, just running a brothel. Yeah, you know, as you do. He was served a 6-month suspended sentence. He later served 28 days for smuggling imported PORN videos that he hid in a spare tyre in his car. Completely normal. Eric Cantona. Everyone knows about the Kung Fu Kick. Let's not pretend we do not know about the Kung Fu Kick. So, the Kung Fu Kick happened. Eric Cantona got sentenced to 2 weeks in prison, but then was changed to 24 hours in prison and community service. So, that's a story. You already know about it. Eric Cantona is still one incredibly weird man. George Best. Yeah, we might as well when we're on about Eric Cantona. Another Man United legend, as he served 2 months in prison for drunk driving and assaulting a police officer. Jamie Lawrence, one story that I'm sure that you've never heard before, but one that is more unique than you would expect, as this was a criminal conviction that led to a footballing career. In 1990, Jamie Lawrence was in the middle of a 4-year prison sentence for bank robbery, and in their prison they had a football team, just a leisurely football team to keep the inmates happy, when a football club in the Isle of Wight called Cow Sports FC, in which this led to Cow Sports FC taking him on, and then ended up all the way to Sunderland, and most notably Bradford City, playing in the Premiership. This is where things now start to get a bit more serious, so prepare yourself. Craig Thompson. The right back at Scottish club Hearts, Craig Thompson, was hailed as the next big thing, gaining man of the match performances against Dinamo Zagreb in the Europa League and also against St Johnstone in the Scottish Premiership. However, things turned sour and very strange very quickly, as he was fined £4,000 and placed on a sex offenders list after lewd and indecent behaviour towards two girls, aged 12 and 14 online. He was kicked out from Hearts and almost kicked out for a decade, and then made 100 appearances for Edinburgh City between 2017 and 2021. Gary Charles. Gary Charles is a maniac, and I hope that I never meet him. During his career, he was given 4 separate charges, one for drunk driving and one for removing his tag so he can join his friends on holiday. He was charged yet again for attacking a woman and assaulting her in a taxi office, and in 2006 threatened a bouncer with a knife, and in that situation was sentenced for 12 months. Lee Hughes. Lee Hughes was charged for 6 months in prison back in 2004 on the charges of death by dangerous driving. Hughes was caught driving on the wrong side of the road and crashed into a car head-on, killing passenger Douglas Graham. Since this tragic event, he has been documented still struggling with the guilt of the incident and focused his energy on redemptive activities, organising charity football matches and raising money for the Children's Hospice. He was playing for West Brom at the time, and after his release played again for Oldham Athletic, Blackpool and Notts County. Georgi Dimitradze. I absolutely butchered that name, I'm very sorry. Georgian international is best known as a top goal scorer in the Russian Premier League back in 1999. However, later on in his career, he was playing for a second division Georgian club, and during this time, he was arrested by the Georgian law enforcement on extortion charges. This stemmed from shakedowns of people who had lost in illegal sports gambling, basically meaning that they threatened them physically to take money from them if they still owed people money. They made over $100,000 from this and was sentenced to 6 years in prison. Marlon King. During the early parts of his career, he was a fantastic striker with a lot of promise. However, things turned sour very fast. But the world of stardom did not suit well with his personality, as a string of serious offences followed. How many? Well, he was charged with 14. One, for example, was him headbutting a player on the pitch while playing at Dulwich Hamlet, fracturing his cheekbone. In 2002, he served 9 months while caught driving an illegally smuggled BMW. 6 years later, he was convicted of sexual assault and bodily harm after he attacked a female uni student. After being released from prison yet again, he returned to football and spent 7 years on a sex offenders list. Other charges was based on him apparently attacking people for no reason, punching a woman in the face and causing cuts and swelling, and were being fined £1,000. In another court case in 2005, he was charged for allegedly no apparent reason spitting on a woman in the street, and was fined yet again. And a lot of charges involving drunk driving and the rest. Gavin Grant. Striker Gavin Grant was serving a prison sentence back in 2010 after being charged with the murder back in 2004 of Leon Labestad. Grant and his 2 friends are still serving life sentences but are eligible for parole after 25 years. An utterly awful event. Nizar Trabelsi. Tunisian international was off to a promising start for Fortuna Düsseldorf, and then that changed quite dramatically as he got involved in the world's most notorious group. Just days after September 11th back in 2001, he was arrested for his involvement. He was also implicated in the 2001 Paris embassy attack and was named in reports as a planned designated bomber. An incredibly wild twist to his story, and is currently serving a 10-year prison sentence. Bruno Fernandes de Sousa, by far the most awful story out of all of this. On the 9th of June 2010, Bruno's mistress Elisa Samundio disappeared while pregnant. Her body was found, and it was found out that Bruno Fernandes de Sousa was found to be the orchestrator of her killing. He was sentenced to 22 years imprisonment after being found guilty of orchestrating the killing, hiding her body and kidnapping the couple's son. As quoted that he was aware of her being strangled and her remains fed to dogs. Allegedly, this all came from the fact that she requested child support from Bruno Fernandes de Sousa. I gotta keep saying that. A awful story, and one of the worst ones when it comes to a footballer. So there you go. That is the disturbing world of many footballers with a dark past. Of course, there are many more that I have not said. An obvious one could be the likes of Adam Johnson. However, we've heard that many times, so I kind of wanted to give some stories here that you may not have heard of. But of course, Adam Johnson is a complete wrong-un as well. Tell me down below in the comments which video should I do next, and also smash a like button and subscribe if you're new. And I'll see you next time for another video. Peace out.